Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 Million by 1 Million Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million in revenue and beyond, build $1 trillion in global GDP and 10 million jobs. And note, it's not $1 million in funding, it's $1 million in revenue. Our value system is entrepreneurship success equals customers, revenues, and profits. Funding is optional, exit is optional. Of course, if you have funding, you have to exit, but that's the underpinning of the program, and it's therefore applies to a much broader population of entrepreneurs than the ones that just focus on venture-style startups. This is our 337th free mentoring roundtable. We've been doing these since the fall of 2008. And over 50,000 people have been part of these roundtables, and we work with entrepreneurs literally from all over the world. And it's been fascinating to learn what you all have been doing in different parts of the world. There is a recording that will be available after the session on our blog as well as on the YouTube channel. If you're live tweeting the show, please use hashtag 1M1M, and our Twitter handles are at 1M by 1M and at Stromana. You can follow those for lots of entrepreneurship-related, really high-quality information, stories, inspirational stories, educational stories, trends, etc. The YouTube channel, by the way, is 1M1M Roundtables. You'll find recordings of all prior sessions there. These are the call-in numbers. 650-479-3208 is the call-in number, and access code is 663-117-555. I will put this slide up when we are ready for call-ins. Right now, we are not yet quite ready for call-ins. We're going to start today with a conversation with Nevin Shetty, CEO of Blueprint Registry. Nevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, folks, I recently did Nevin's entrepreneur journey story and learned how he navigated his way, and I thought there were some very unique insights that I wanted to expose you all to. So maybe you have already read his entrepreneur journey stories, maybe you haven't, and in any case, I think this conversation will be enlightening for many of you to learn how he has done his early part of the entrepreneurial journey. There's a lot of entrepreneurial journey ahead of Nevin. So tell us about your business at Blueprint Registry. What do you do? How do you do what you do?
Yeah, again, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So Blueprint Registry is a wedding registry platform that's based on the visual layout of a home. So users come in and shop using top-down layouts of a room, and we aggregate gifts from multiple different retailers into one location to create a convenient experience. And ultimately, that's what we do. We connect newly engaged couples with a shopping platform to then share with their friends and family to buy gifts. And ultimately, that's the core focus, but it's been a long journey to get here, and it's a longer journey, as you mentioned, going forward.
So talk a little bit about especially the pivot in your journey. Talk about where you started and how and why you evolved to the current model.
Yeah, so I think the pivot comes in with a little bit of a backstory. So, I was in New York for about 10 years working as an accountant in finance at a couple of different investment funds, and that was my life. And I really enjoyed it. I loved the markets, but I was moving apartments in New York, and I was trying to outfit my new apartment with furniture. And buying furniture online was a terrible process. And so in January of 2013, I had the idea, can you make the e-commerce experience more visual, more intuitive by shopping based on the layout of your home? And so that was the conception of the idea in January of 2013. Let's build an e-commerce experience that's based on the blueprint or layout of a home. It was a massive idea. I didn't know where to start. Found through friends of friends, found an unbelievable co-founder and designer. Her name is Lizzie. And, I told her the idea, and she's like, Nevin, I think this is awesome. I'm moving from New York back to Seattle. I don't know where all my furniture is going. I just got married. I got all this stuff. I think this would be an awesome idea. And after thinking about that idea, then we came with, how do we actually apply this? Like, what's the execution to get to the end result? And so we actually started in weddings to prove the concept of, do people want to shop on the layout of a home? And so weddings is a one-time life event related to the home, and that's why we chose this. The pivot really became the idea almost from the outset. So it was, let's build e-commerce based on blueprints of homes. wait, that's way too big of an idea. Let's narrow it to prove the concept and then scale from there.
Yeah. So it was more almost segmentation as opposed to pure pivot, I would say, isn't it?
Correct. So yes, it is a bit of segmentation, I would say, just to prove the concept. But I think, you know, we haven't had a technical pivot, so to speak. But I think, you know, as most entrepreneurs know, every single major decision point is a small pivot, which adds up to, you know, a cumulative effect.
Right, and I think from a pure e-commerce site standpoint, the workflow of this business would be somewhat different than what it is for you, because there's that wedding registry component and so forth. So yeah, there is a pivot in there, but it is more an evolution as opposed to a complete like switch.
Yeah, and
so,
I think
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think the important thing is to note we were open to the idea to do something different. Yeah. You know, it's like we had this great idea, it was really cool, but how do we get there? Okay, let's narrow this down and make it something that we can actually handle on our own. Because we bootstrapped, and we'll obviously talk about this, but it was a long bootstrap process, and I think it was the right way to go for us.
So you just mentioned that you were an accountant, and your co-founder is a designer, and you decided to outsource your software development. What have you learned in managing that process, and what did you do wrong? What did you do right? What, in hindsight, of course, you know, we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are non-technical co-founders. You know, there's a ton of entrepreneurs out there who are trying to do startups by doing the process that you have done successfully in your case, but a lot of entrepreneurs fail in managing an outsourced development process. So what can we learn from you on that score?
Yeah, and so I want to talk a little bit about this because I do think it's important. It's our biggest learning lesson so far. So, you know, I'm an accountant business guy. Lizzie's a designer. So from the outset, we had a very strong business plan. We had a very strong design and wireframe for the idea of what we wanted to do. Now it comes, okay, how do we actually build this? So we actually spent time meeting 5 development firms, getting proposals from 5 development firms before choosing one. We had a mix of both outsourced developers offshore and in the US. And I think what we came down to, you know, after talking, we did a lot of due diligence with these firms in terms of what their process was, how they build things, and there were kind of 2 components, right? Build this fast and cheap, and then you're going to have to rebuild it in a year, or build this with quality and incrementally over time. We didn't know the right direction. Neither Lizzie or I had any technical background. And, you know, we actually had to rely on these, you know, project managers or the people pitching us from these firms to tell us. And that's a huge detriment to the business looking back on it now because, right, a core function of our business is development because we're a software company, we're an e-commerce company. That might differ for other people. But you know, we thought we did a really good job with due diligence, got proposals, ended up choosing one in New York because we felt like we needed someone that we could talk with and communicate with clearly. So we decided not to do a firm in India, even though they were 50% cheaper, just because we didn't have the good communication there. And so we ended up choosing this firm in New York. And, you know, ultimately they built what they told us they would build, but it wasn't what we thought they would build because there was some translation issues in terms of the build. And I think going back, something I would recommend to everyone is, one is try to find a technical founder or someone technical on your team who can help vet development firms. I think that's incredibly important. And 2 is, you know, really manage what the scope of the project is. I mean, every development firm will tell you scope creep is an issue, but I think it's more about developing internally what the scope is, like what's the end result you want the site to be working and working for how long and how many people should it handle, because otherwise there's a lot of miscommunication because there's so many things happening at once. You know, development is just a small part of it, but it ends up being a bigger issue down the road. And
do you have any insight on the firm that you chose to go with in New York? What was the basis in which you chose those sites? Besides offshore versus onshore, you had some options in New York as well. Why did you choose the one you chose, and what was that decision the correct decision or not the correct decision, and would another firm have been better? What did you learn in that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. So we got 5 proposals, and those proposals ranged from $50K to $350K. So, I mean, a huge spread for the same business plan, same wireframes. And we ended up choosing this New York firm. They were in the middle of the range, coincidentally, but really they just had the best project management. They were really able to sell us on, hey, listen, you know, we can be technically your internal CTO, will help you build all this. And they honestly just sold us on their process. In hindsight, was that the best thing? I don't know. You know, we had two other firms that were very close. They had a different model. So another had a model where they would build the site very quickly, and it's meant to break in a year, and then we'd have to rebuild then. It's really hard to say. I think.
How long did it take you to get the MVP out?
Yeah, so we started building the MVP, I would say, in September of 2013. We launched in February 2014, so about maybe six months to get the MVP out.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Look, talk to us about your friends and family financing round. You did raise some money up front. How much did you raise? Yep. What did you do right in that round? What did you do wrong? And what, you know, what was the outcome?
Yeah, so we launched the website in 2014. So we bootstrapped for almost a year and a half. And then we raised our friends and family round. And when we went and raised our friends and family, we raised around $700,000, which sounds like a lot, but we raised that over almost a year period of time because it was a convertible note, it was open. And in hindsight, that was probably a mistake. But, you know, you kind of take what you can when you can. So an issue we had was we get a $100,000 check, and then we wouldn't know when the next money would come in. And so maybe 2 months later, we get $50,000. 2 months later, we get another $150,000. So it's very hard to allocate capital appropriately and efficiently when you don't know how much capital you're going to have to begin with. And so in hindsight, you know, we would have made it a much more concerted effort to do it in a 3-month sprint, raise all the money at once, and then deploy it in once, because that would have been probably much more efficient versus raising it over almost a year period of time.
So you bootstrapped with a paycheck for a year, right, before you raised the friends and family money?
Correct. So, you know, still Lizzie and I still kept our day jobs. We did this on nights and weekends. And then, you know, almost 2 years later from the inception of the idea, then we did leave our firms to do this full time.
So it sounds like the friends and family round was while you still kept your jobs and you raised money, but you still held on to your jobs.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what we did. Because I mean, at the end of the day, right? People say they invest in people, but really it's people plus idea. And so we had a really interesting idea. It was captivating from a numbers perspective, captivating from a business perspective, but also like, you know, Lizzie and I had started businesses in our respective industries. And we were a really great team together. I mean, you know, I'm a male business guy. She's a female designer. We have a really interesting take on this business and a take on running a business. And so, you know, we were able to, luckily enough, to convince enough people to invest early on.
So split this 2-year bootstrapping with a paycheck period for me. And what did you accomplish in the 1 year leading up to that friends and family financing round in terms of you launched the MVP in about 6 months? How much did you do in terms of getting, you know, customers, like, you know, engaged couples and start transacting on your site? Were you able to get to that by the time you got to the friends and family round?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of timeline, right, so, you know, conception idea was January 2013. We started building the MVP of September 2013. We launched the product February of 2014, and then kind of raised our first capital at the end of 2014. So in that time period when we launched in 2014, we had, you know, 80 people use the website, generated a couple $100,000 in sales, and that was the validation, right? This could work. The feedback was great from users. And really the way we got users was through word of mouth. I mean, Lizzie and I knew a lot of the people using the website. You know, we were in our late 20s, and so many people we knew were getting married were like, hey, use this cool new thing we developed. But honestly, like, it was all word of mouth and a little bit of organic social media. And again, it's nothing to write home about, 80 people, but for us working part-time, you know, on nights and weekends, we were like, this is awesome. This is great. People like it. And it's been interesting. So with that, we were able to go like, listen, this is a really great idea to our friends and family. We've already proved we built the product already. So you want to de-risk as much for investors as possible. We've built the product. Now we just need money to continue to build on the product and now to acquire more users.
So with 80 couples, though, because you have a high-ticket sale, per couple transaction value is pretty high, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it an event cart value. It's very high for us. You know, it's over $2,000.
So that means that with even with 80, 85 couples, you still had a substantial amount of revenue that you could show to that first friends and family round investors.
Correct. And it's
okay. So then you went from these like 80 couples to 2,000 couples in 2015, and you did over $4 million in sales. How did you acquire these customers? What was the key strategy that was converting for you?
Yeah, it was really, you know, if you think about 2014, 2015, it was really all Facebook. So we started doing Facebook targeted marketing, paid ads. And, you know, Lizzie and I had basically done everything since day one. So we were doing all the marketing, figuring out audience types, figuring out creative, figuring out copy. Yeah. It was really interesting for both of us to do that. And that worked really well for us early on because, you know, we had a really interesting concept. We had a great message. We had great branding. And so it was easy for people to kind of be like, oh, this is really cool, because you think about the industry we're in, it's very stagnant. The wedding registry market hasn't changed a lot. Big box retailers haven't changed a lot. So it was kind of an easy concept to sell users, and Facebook was the way to go because it was such easy targeting for us.
And when did you start layering in Pinterest?
We started layering on Pinterest maybe towards the end of 2015. Pinterest didn't really have a really organized paid platform at that moment in time. We started doing pins and they worked, but we didn't have anyone doing it, right? Lizzie and I were doing it full time. So Lizzie was doing all product and design. I'm doing all the accounting, business. And so, you know, how do you split your time to do it? So we did some, but not a lot. Now Pinterest has obviously become much bigger. It's part of our platform now. But, you know, our two big ones today are still Facebook and Pinterest.
Talk about your business model.
Yeah, so our business model is very straightforward. I mean, it's a B2C model, so we sell to consumers and we make a commission off everything we sell. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. The interesting thing about us is we have such incredible consumer intelligence on users in terms of where they're located, what product mix, what the retailer mix is, that retailers are actually asking us for that data and willing to pay for it. So now we're trying to figure out, right, how do we add that layer onto our revenue streams. So
you did something quite unorthodox at this point. In 2016, you applied for TechStars with substantial revenues and a fully validated business model at this point, and also you had validated your customer acquisition model. I have several questions on that decision. Why did you wait so long? And why did you apply to TechStars at all once you were already that far along?
Yeah, so, you know, Lizzie and I had been working on this for 2 years. We were incredibly tired. We'd been doing this nights and weekends for a long time. And, you know, quite frankly, we pride ourselves on continually learning. And, you know, there's a lot of things we don't know. And so, you know, we applied to TechStars because we had a connection there. And they told us, listen, this is a great program. Like, you guys have revenue. Like, we're actually looking for that now. And so when we applied, there was a new specific accelerator for TechStars that was a retail-focused one. And that captivated us a lot because it was focused on retail companies, and we were in that space, and it was going to be much more focused in their resources. And I think, you know, as just a caveat for other entrepreneurs thinking about applying to TechStars, TechStars is very specific to each program. So certain TechStars programs skew towards very young, early-stage companies, and then the more corporate accelerators they're doing now usually skews more towards later stage, because everyone in our class had been in business for over a year, and we kind of had a more mature class, so to speak. And so I think it depends on which program an entrepreneur applies to.
So TechStars, of course, gives you $100,000 for about 7% of equity. How much did you raise coming out of TechStars?
Yeah, and so that was the big question going into TechStars. Is it worth giving up the 7% equity to join? Ultimately, we said yes because that learning experience and the potential on the back end was worth it. So we ended up doing it. It was an unbelievable experience. I would highly recommend it to anyone in a similar situation to us. And on the back end of that, we ended up raising $1 million in seed funding, incredible list of investors, and it was reinvigorating for both Lizzie and I. So to understand and see development from other teams, to learn how TechStars runs their program. I mean, it's all stuff we've now brought back, and we're a better company for it, to be perfectly honest.
So let me ask you one question, though. Could you have raised that money without TechStars?
No, absolutely not. TechStars gives you the platform to raise. An analogy I like to use is, you know, if you go to an Ivy League school, you have a better chance of getting a good jobs, but it's no means guaranteed. You know, if you go to an accelerator program, you know, there's no means guaranteed success, but you'll have a better shot at being successful and raising capital because now you have a platform and a credential to go raise off of, essentially.
And you didn't have that network to do it yourself, is what you're saying?
Correct, correct. So after, you know, we exhausted our friends and family around, we didn't have, it was hard to meet people, especially if you're in smaller markets. We're in the Seattle market, you know, it's a thriving tech scene, so to speak, but, you know, it's still very small for the angel community compared to New York or San Francisco.
All right. So one thing that, you know, I have been noticing, I've talked to other entrepreneurs who are doing that as well, is people are picking up on the fact that TechStars, YCombinator, these are essentially operating like seed funds at this point. They started off in a different place. When they started maybe almost a decade ago, they were operating in a slightly different stage of incubation, acceleration, whatever you call it. But today they are further along. So I've actually talked to many entrepreneurs who have, one, gotten into YCombinator or TechStars, and two, had success in raising funding through YCombinator or TechStars. As you said, you know, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be raising reasonable amounts of financing through TechStars or YCombinator, but your chances are these people have good contacts and good networks, and if you don't have the network yourself, this is a reasonable place to go to get connected into networks. But the truth is, these accelerators make money off equity. So they are taking equity in your venture, so you kind of need to be worthy of them to take equity in your venture. So as a result, they are looking at taking more validated businesses. And your story, the reason I wanted to highlight the story is it is a very pertinent story, and we have others we will show you in due course, of people who have validated their businesses outside for 2 years in your case before applying to TechStars. There's this you know, preconception in the market that you kind of come up with an idea and you apply to YCombinator, you apply to TechStars or whatever is your local accelerator. First and foremost, there are over 7,500 accelerators in the world, and most of them don't work. They don't really add a lot of value. TechStars and YCombinator are two really high-quality accelerators. So it is worthwhile for you to understand how to get into these accelerators, one, and two, how to best leverage the time you spend in these accelerators, because you're going to be there for 3 months, and in 3 months, you can only do so much. So you almost need to be prepared to be able to do the funding round that you're going to do on demo day and following demo day at one of these accelerators going in. So this is why I love your story so much, Nevin, is that you basically had all your ducks lined up and then you used their network. Yes, you learned a whole bunch of stuff within TechStars, but you also were kind of prepared to use their network and be successful in raising money. Do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, so a couple comments there. I think it's important for people looking to apply to accelerators such as a YCombinator or a TechStars to make personal connections. So like, do you know an entrepreneur who's gone through that program who can make an introduction to the program manager or can make an introduction into the program? So a lot of the companies that you talk about, either in our program or other programs, had some introduction other than just a blank application into the program. So it obviously helps your chances to have some knowledge or some interaction with them beforehand. So TechStars, they'll go around the world to meet with potential entrepreneurs. You need to go to those sessions, right, and meet those people so you can build a personal connection. So when they see your application come through, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that entrepreneur, I talked to him, he was interesting, let's review this a little bit more. So that's one thing. And two is, I can't tell you how much I worked in the TechStars program. I think Lizzie and I both worked over 100 hours a week for 3 straight months. It was incredibly invigorating. We were surprised at how much we worked just because you spend so much time meeting people and doing meetings. I mean, we literally, there was one day we had meetings from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then at 7 we started working for our, on Blueprint. And it's because of that we were able to raise, because you build that network, you start telling your story to more people, you refine your pitch, you understand how you're going to make it in the marketplace. And I think that's almost the most important thing. And I totally agree with you. We had the understanding, listen, we're coming in to learn, and coming in to learn how we can fundraise so we can build this into a really big business and get to $1 million in net revenue into the next year.
Well, and as you are very viscerally pointing out, that time you spent was largely in networking. The hard work you had put in for 2 years to actually get your business validated, and get you the revenues flowing, get the customers transacting on your website, get your product working and all of that, that was already done. And that takes time. So don't come in, don't try to come into a TechStars or a YCombinator thinking that in 3 months you're gonna build your MVP, you're gonna get customers transacting. That just doesn't work that way. And I think YCombinator TechStars understands that. So no matter who is going to introduce into YCombinator or TechStars, you're not going to be able to get in or be able to leverage the time that you're in there unless you have the goods. And in your case, Nevin, you have the goods because you bootstrapped with a paycheck for 2 years and with some friends and family financing to get all those goods lined up before you went in to TechStars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's, the reason I wanted to really highlight your story and get it out there is because I think people don't really understand how these programs work in a broad sense. So they're basically applying to YCombinator and thinking that something will happen. It just doesn't work that way. So, the perspective that you bring from the from the field and from the ground is very, very helpful. Thank you for sharing, Nevin, and good luck. You have a long way to go, and I will be rooting for you. It's wonderful what you've done.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I always love sharing the story because it takes a lot of work, a lot of perseverance, but anyone can do it. It just takes time and energy. And
persistence, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Nevin. We are going to switch to the entrepreneur pitch session. To all our presenters today, I want to set some expectations. This is a working session. Our only reason to be here is to help accelerate your journey with some strategic input based on what you present here, based on our experience, and we are on your side. We're rooting for you. We are here only to be on your side. We have no other agenda whatsoever. So remember that. Don't be defensive. This is a safe place to discuss business. And it is possible that you will disagree with my feedback today. That's okay. Don't feel bad about that. Just remember one thing, and this is not an open to interpretation point. Not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money, and raising money does not guarantee success. This is not something you can disagree with because it's a fact. So don't try to, wrestle your way out of this fact. And then if you're not pitching today, please also ask questions. Ask questions in public chat. Ask questions by calling in. I will open up the line in a little bit so that you can call in and dialogue. So, you know, the best way you will learn is by asking questions, is by engaging, is by weighing in on what you're listening to. We're going to start today with Jonathan Kaplan. And Jonathan actually is a premium member, and we had a private roundtable yesterday that he couldn't make, so we have Jonathan as the first presenter today, and we'll be working on his business first. Jonathan, please unmute your line and tell us where you are with BuildMyBod. Welcome to the program, by the way.
Thanks, Ramana. Thanks for the time. Yeah, good morning. As Ms. Ramana mentioned, my name is Jonathan Kaplan. I'm the CEO and founder of BuildMyBod Health. And y'all can hear me fine?
Yes.
Great. Okay. And on to the next slide. BuildMyBod is an online marketplace that provides for price transparency in healthcare and the ability to purchase non-surgical services online. So even though you have health insurance, chances are you have a high deductible health plan like 164 million other Americans. And if that's the case, that means you're probably going to be spending $1,000 to $6,000 out of your own pocket before your insurance kicks in. So wouldn't it be nice to know how much it's going to cost you before you get your medical bill? And that's where BuildMyBod comes in.
Okay.
BuildMyBod is an online marketplace where the doctor provides all of their procedure pricing up into the BuildMyBod database, and the consumer can access that pricing, but only after the consumer provides their contact information. The contact information meaning name, email address, phone number, zip code. So in return for the consumer getting pricing, the doctor gets the consumer's contact info, a lead, in return. And then the consumer can also purchase non-surgical services online, and this helps with determining out-of-pocket costs for medically necessary services before a deductible is met. So it's not just cosmetic services. This can be out-of-pocket fees that you pay for MRIs, x-rays, labs, even outpatient surgery.
Yep.
And the consumer accesses BuildMyBod through the BuildMyBod app on the iPhone App Store. They can access it through our website, BuildMyBod.com. But even more importantly, on the next page, you'll see that the consumer can access the BuildMyBod widget through the doctor's individual website, as you can see in the next slide. This is really critical because instead of us having to always concentrate all of our SEO on just BuildMyBod.com, we can sort of piggyback on the doctor's SEO of their individual website, which you can see in slide number 5, the next slide. And here's this is an example of a doctor's website, and we embed a widget into that doctor's website that includes all the procedures for that specific doctor. Of course, it doesn't show any other doctors as it would on BuildMyBod.com. The consumer scrolls through the different procedures, adds them to the wish list, enters their contact information, and only after they enter their contact information and submit their wish list do they then get pricing information. Excellent. And, of course, the doctor gets the lead. Next page. So let's talk about our competition. So the competition that I'm going to mention today, they've either gotten out of the online marketplace space completely, or they've pivoted and gone into less price transparency type of space. So for BuildMyBod, one of the things that separates us is the embeddable widget, which I just mentioned, that you can insert into the doctor's own website so they can start capturing leads through their own site and also capturing dollars through sales through their widget. We provide lead generation for the doctor, and we have instant access to accurate pricing through that doctor-provided pricing database. The prices that we offer are not based on U.S. averages or claims data. It's basically the prices we offer are actionable prices, meaning that you can purchase something right there online because that is the price. So when you compare that to PocketDoc, they've gotten out of the online marketplace. Castlight just acquired Jif, and so they're getting more into the employee benefits realm. But even if they were still doing price transparency, they were always really about employees of employers that were using Castlight. BuildMyBod is for everyone. It's not just employees or employer-based. It's everyone who wants to access the database. Next slide.
So, Jonathan, I have one comment to make here, which is there is another category of competition that you see here is the insurance companies employ services to, when a doctor has authorized a procedure like an MRI or an X-ray or a CT scan, whatever, let's say so I'll give you an example. Let's say this, we are in the Stanford medical system, healthcare system. Let's say a doctor at Stanford has authorized a procedure or a lab test. The insurance company sees that this test or this scan at the Stanford hospital is going to be 3 times more expensive, whereas there are local clinics that would do it for a lot less. And they have these service providers basically call and talk to the consumer about those options, and the consumer has the option of taking a lower priced test. And especially when you're in that high deductible period where it's actually the money is coming out of the consumer's pocket, there is a very good chance that the consumer will opt for the lower priced option. This actually is currently built into a lot of insurance company workflows. So I guess my question to you is, have you factored this in, and is that a competition, but maybe it is also an opportunity for you to perhaps work with the insurance companies to become their service provider in this realm?
Certainly. No, obviously I would welcome the opportunity to work with the insurance companies. But that's what's interesting is that when people have the insurance, they have to go through the process of dealing with insurance. So think of it, so it is really much easier using a platform like BuildMyBod, because they can go straight to the healthcare provider or the radiology facility to see that pricing right then and there, and then they can see that it's less expensive. They didn't have to even deal with the insurance. However, they can still take that receipt that they've paid, when they pay for that procedure out of pocket, they can still submit their receipt to their insurance company so that it will count towards their deductible. So even though they're not necessarily using their insurance company or going through their insurance company, they can still have that lower, less expensive procedure count towards their deductible. So we certainly would welcome working with the insurance, but the benefit of BuildMyBod is that they don't have to interact with the insurance company at all, which is getting more and more painful every time that you have an interaction with them. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Okay, let's file this discussion away for a second. We'll come back to it. Why don't you go through where you are, and then I have some thoughts on that insurance company side. I wouldn't write that off completely, but let's go through your presentation, and we'll come back to that in a moment.
Sure. So our revenue stream is actually closer to $170,000, and that's coming from subscription fees paid by providers, and that we have over 250 doctors and facilities whose pricing we have, whose information we have pricing for in our database, and then we also make money through the merchant fees paid by consumers when they purchase non-surgical services through BuildMyBod.com or through the widget on the doctor's website. Next slide.
And what kind of non-surgical services are we talking about?
We're talking about x-rays, labs, Botox, fillers, anything non-surgical like that.
Okay. And so the $3,500 annual subscription is what the doctor's offices or the clinics that provide these non-surgical services pay to you.
Exactly. We have 3 different tiers. So for primary care doctors, it's $99 a month. For plastic surgeons and dermatologists, it's $149 a month. And then for the facilities, like the outpatient surgery centers, the lab facilities, the radiology facilities, it's $299 a month. And that's how we arrive at those annual subscriptions.
And do you have dentists and eye care and all that in the database as well, or is it limited to some categories?
No, we absolutely do. We really allow anybody. I just used a couple examples, but no, we have veterinarians, we have facial plastics, ophthalmology, dentistry, any service that is paid out of pocket, even though it's not even though it's not necessarily cosmetic, that if it's medically necessary and they have a high deductible, any doctor that provides services that would typically be paid out of pocket, we will sign them up.
Okay. And what about geographical coverage? These 250 facilities that you have, where are they?
So they're relatively evenly spread across the United States in population centers and also the Midwest. We actually have doctors in Canada and also the Dominican Republic.
And how are you acquiring customers?
And 2 in Australia. The way we're getting our doctors and our facilities is that We have a large email database of medical facilities and different doctors across the spectrum, but then also I speak at a lot of conferences, including plastic surgery conferences, health IT conferences, and like just various types of conferences where I'm able to present our data, because we've actually gotten some peer-reviewed published articles where we're showing how lead generation with the use of price transparency is very effective for building a doctor or facility's practice. And because I have that sort of legitimate outcomes data, I can go and present and provide these continuing medical education credits. It's approved because I'm not just blatantly promoting BuildMyBod. I'm actually able to present it as how it affects me as a doctor. And so I've been presenting across the country at these different meetings.
And
in addition
what about
to monthly email newsletters.
What about the procedure? Do people sign up online, or do they call? Do you have to call these people to get them to sign up? What have you learned in closing these 250 deals?
Well, I've learned that it's not easy, and that even doctors who are currently posting their pricing online, we have to explain to them the benefit of using our platform, because they're like, well, we already have our prices online, why should we pay you? And so we explain to them that, no, if somebody's coming to your website and you just have a static menu of prices on your website, you're not getting any leads for that. Whereas with ours, you get leads. And it's specifically to your point, when we send them the email newsletters, we have call to action buttons where they can go to our sign-in page or sign-up page. We get their contact info, and then we follow up with them. And then when they log into the back end, they can upload their procedures and pricing, and we make it fairly simple and user-friendly for them to upload all their data.
So one of the modules that I would like you to study in the curriculum is the Sales 2.0 module under customer acquisition.
Okay, great.
In B2B customer acquisition, that is one of that procedure. You know, a lot of companies we work with are in your stage, right, where you've got some validation, you know this works, but you need to scale the sales process and add velocity to the sales process. So that module has been extensively used by our entrepreneurs, and you know, it's very effective, it works. So I think that's where you're going to get the immediate and maximum bang for the buck in terms of implementing that process. So why don't you go over that and then ask questions both in the curriculum discussion area as well as come back anytime to discuss anything with me, and we'll, you know, refine that process with you.
Great.
But I have to say I'm kind of interested in having you test the insurance company hypothesis, because I know insurance companies are using services to do this kind of manually, right? They have a service provider who's calling consumers on their behalf and making this pitch. So I guess there is a... Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that you're absolutely 100% right, and I have tried to work with insurance companies. In fact, it took me working with a U.S. senator from the state of Louisiana who likes my platform to get me into a discussion on the phone with Anthem locally here in California. So he was it took a U.S. senator to even get the introduction over the phone, and then she pretty much quickly dismissed the idea. Now, the truth is, she really wasn't high enough up on the hierarchy to really understand what I was offering and to really make a good decision. Yeah. But how do you get access to those people other than going through a U.S. senator? I don't know, because I tried it.
Here's something that you need. Study the Sales 2.0 module, but think about, as you study that, you need to study it with two different agendas. One agenda is to scale your existing process of recruiting physicians and getting them to pay their subscription fee to get on your platform. That is one agenda. The second agenda is, if you deploy that same process on insurance companies, what would that look like? And then we can discuss it further to see how we can, you know, run that same Sales 2.0 process on insurance companies to see if you can get, you know, insurance companies on board. And by that time, by the way, you can choose to, you know, play this out and get more data, collect more data, and And by the time you go to sell to insurance companies, you will have a lot of validation of what you're doing, how you're doing, what you're doing, and then take that to the insurance companies to show them, look, this is what we are doing, these are the results we are getting, and why don't you, come on board and work with us and offer it to all your physicians. In that case, what would happen is the insurance company would be able to help you get to their entire network of physicians. So these are going to be large deals, but I think in scaling your business, we will eventually, from a strategy point of view, we will get to scaling your business using those insurance companies as partners. Maybe not immediately, but we will get to that, and I'm going to help you get to that.
That's great. That's very exciting.
So for the moment, first order of business, so your first piece of homework is to study that module, and then let's reconvene and strategize further.
Absolutely. I'll do that.
Was this helpful?
Very helpful. No, that's great. already worth it.
And you're in the Bay Area, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in San Francisco.
Okay, very good. All right, so keep going, and let's work on it together.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, our next presenter is Vihari K, KVS K from Hyderabad, India. So folks, you just got a flavor. As I was working with Jonathan, what you got a flavor of is more like what happens in a private roundtable, because people who are members of the premium program have access to the curriculum. And what we very often do is understand their problem and then point them as homework to study a particular module of the curriculum and then apply that to their situation, and then we refine the execution and the details of that strategy throughout the progression of that particular exercise in the private roundtable. So it just gives you an example of how we work. Go ahead, Vihari, you're up next.
Hello. First of all, thank you for providing me this opportunity to pitch in here.
Very welcome.
So just a brief about my product. The next big change which is happening in India right now is the GST, the Goods and Service Tax. So what we are doing right now is we are automating the entire process of GST. Right now in India, it's going to be effective from 1st July 2017, and nobody in India knows about GST as of now. So it's a complete new law of indirect taxation which is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So this is the opportunity which is right now available in India to scale up and to grow heights. So can you just go to the next slide? Yeah. So the problem right now is apart from the new law which is going to come in, the existing law has to be unlearned, and then the new law has to be learned. For all the corporates, all the employees who are working in these corporates, every organization, the target customer is basically every business who does more than 20 lakhs of turnover in a year has to pay GST. So that's like 8 million customers in India are going to pay GST. So unless they know the existing and they know the new law, and they're going to change the existing ERP systems and also the rules and regulations, it's going to be a problem that the entire Indians are going to face right now. So what we have come up is we are a blend of functional experts who have been into indirect taxes for the last 20 years, and also a blend of technology experts who are into industry for the last 20 years. We're trying to automate the entire process of return filing, consultancy, and also trying to link the tax experts who do the consultancy and also to link the end users so that the entire process of GST from return filing to consultancy happens through our portal. This is what we are doing in a brief in our product. So next slide, please. So apart from building an integrated end-to-end user portal, we are also linking to the POS systems, point-of-sale systems, which happen to all the supermarkets, and also link the ERP systems which are there right now all over India. And any ERP system will be able to link it, and this is where the automation happens. We put, as and when the accountant enters the data in their existing ERP system, the data will be automatically pulled into our web portal. Once it is pulled, we have built up various validations and checks through our functional experts to check line item wise what are the possible errors according to GST draft rules, and we show a list of errors. Once the list of errors are rectified, then it automatically classifies into reporting, and there are various tables again in reporting. There are 24 reports to be filed in a year. So everything is automated from the data upload to checks to reporting, and we are doing this by integrating the ERP systems, point of sale systems, and also building and portals. So the other thing is, once the returns are filed, as even in US, there will be notices which comes to the tax filers. So we also handle notices, refunds, and every process related to GST. So next slide. So what we have done before we started this project, we have started this project around 6 months back, where the commencement of GST was the bill was passed, and so we have started this project 6 months back, and we have analyzed the existing draft rules, and we have created a chain of reasoning. And say, for example, with the existing draft rules, and a transaction happens with the if so condition happens, then what would be the possible result in the GST draft rules? So we have built the logic, and we have built the decision trees. And the next slide, please. So with the decision tree, we have built 3 products. One is a GST do-it-yourself product, who is already, say, for example, a chartered accountant or a cost accountant would be aware of GST. So for his clients, he will be using this do-it-yourself software, where it will be guided assistance throughout the portal. And for the corporate clients, we have built on ERP integration engine, where the data will be pulled through the ERP, and also the reporting tool, where the data will be classified into various reports without any manual interference. So next slide. So
of these, you've built all these products, but which business do you want to build? These are different businesses, right? If you want to sell to, thousands of chartered accountants all over India, that is one business, and the go-to-market strategy for that business is of a certain kind. If you want to sell to enterprises, that's a whole different business.
Yes. So what I have done is when I take a pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid is very huge, and the businesses around about 20 lakhs and below 5 crores are very huge in India. So I cannot target them independently because I don't have the marketing cost to do so. So what I've done is I've targeted the chartered accountants all over India through our networks. So through our networks, I'm targeting the chartered accountants to target the bottom of the pyramid, whereas the top of the pyramid, the huge clients, the ERP systems, we have with our network, we are able to reach to the bottom of the top of the pyramid through our networks. However, the GSTN is the network, the official government body, who has selected 34 companies as the official service providers of GST in India to file returns. So what we have done is everybody in India have to file their returns only through these 34 companies. And these are all the big companies, billion-dollar companies in India, all ERP system. It includes Reliance, Tata, all these big companies. So what we have done is we have, in fact, we have partnered with a couple of GSPs. They are called GSPs. These 34 companies, we have partnered with a couple of them, and we are in talks with a couple of them, so that since we are already ahead of this game, and none of these 34 companies, I would say, is probably starting to develop this product. They are looking for an outsourcing of the product. So
let me ask you, are you trying to OEM your product into these GSTs? Or whatever you call these companies, 34 companies?
Yes, Yes, yes. So what we are doing is we are probably either entering into a revenue sharing model with these companies, and these companies, as I said, these are all multi-billion-dollar companies, and they have access to all the ERP, all the major clients in India. So I am targeting the top of the pyramid through that, and the bottom of the pyramid, as I said, through chartered accountants. And
but it's still, there's going to be, these are two different businesses. You will find very soon that you will not be able to cope with both. So you're going to need to figure out which one you want.
I'm already in that position, actually. So as you can see in the screen, these are all the existing ERP systems, which are, if you can go to the next screen. So we are already certified with these all the ERP systems that whatever the middleware which we use to pull the data from the ERP systems, we are all certified with those ERP systems in India, with those ERP systems. If you can go to the next slide. So this is the target number. This is the market price, 8 million. As I can say, like, this is the organized sector. The number would double if I would increase, if I could put in the unorganized sector as well. So this includes every manufacturer in India, every importer, every service provider, includes a mixed supply. Everybody in India whose business is greater than 20 lakhs is the target market. And what at the table right next to it is the proof that this is the exact number. 2 crore 9 lakhs is the ITR, is the income tax payers in India, and this is an approximate number of the number of customers in India who pays income tax on that. So if I take half of it, that would be the number. So the customer base with the marketing which we have done is, in the last 1 month, we are able to reach 9,000 users in pre-sales, and we have signed contracts with the GSPs, the 34 companies, and we have chartered accountant network all over India. We are able to reach everybody, all chartered accountants, and as that has happened only during the last 1 month of our marketing efforts, and the business is growing every day. So what I am not able right now, what the question right now is, the target is to capture 20% of the market size down the line. But to do that, we have the product, we have the in-house expertise to build these products, we have the manpower to build these products. But the problem which we are facing right now is to scale up and spread across India and capture the market size. Because the only problem which I have right now is time.
I don't know any company that in 1 year captures 20% of market share. So that target, so, right out of the gate, that target is an unrealistic target.
No, it's not 1 year. It's down the line. That's what I said. So the market.
What you have on the slide is 20% of market share by next year, directly or indirectly. So get that out of your head, because that's not realistic. Let's get down to the specifics. 9,000 users in pre-sales. What does that mean? Are we talking about the chartered accountants?
We have users who have signed up through chartered accountants.
And why are they in pre-sales? What is the where are you in converting them into paying customers?
We're going to pay them. I mean, they're going to pay us by next month, because the product, since everybody in India is going to use the product only from 1st July. Since the act is applicable only from 1st July, everybody will be using it only from that. So no customer would be willing to pay a little early for a product which is going to come in 1st July. So the time, as I said, is my enemy, because if I don't capture the market before 1st July, it would be difficult after that, because after that every customer would be using some of the other software, so it will be more of shifting from one software to other. So that would be a little difficult for me to do, rather than the market which right now is open. No one is using any software to find the GST.
So you don't press a button and you don't flip a switch and capture a market. So let's go to your GSP situation. Yeah. What is the deal with the GSPs? Have you done any deal? Have you actually figured out what are the terms of a deal?
Yeah, I cannot say the number of how many GSPs we have signed due to confidentiality purposes. We have entered into the contract. We have signed. We have the documents where we have signed the contract with GSPs. I could probably, after this meeting is done, we could probably.
So you're, the only way you will get enough coverage, and that we will get in the larger, the enterprise part of the market, is through these GSPs. That's a manageable number. 34 is a manageable number. We're in January. I can see you do 34 deals in the next couple of months, 3 months, such that you are positioned to go into the clients of these GSPs. That's where that's the only strategy I see where you can get immediate coverage through these providers.
Yes. However, all 34, few people are into development of software already. So I
was about to say that there will be not all of these people, especially the kinds of logos that you have put.
Not only 34 would be interested in signing up with us. However, there are companies who are willing to sign up.
So you are going to lose a huge part of this market to those GSPs who are going to do it in their own software. Part of the problem you have here, Vihari, is that this is a feature. It's not entirely a product. So for a lot of large ERPs, this is a feature, and they're going to bring this feature in. They're not going to wait for you to come in with that feature. So July, there's plenty of time for a large company to put in this feature in their product before July is not that big a deal. So there's in my mind, there's a question mark.
Everybody has an ERP system. Everybody has an ERP system. Say, for example, SAP says it is GST ready. It is GST ready, but the returns cannot be filed through SAP. It needs a portal to file the returns. So filing of returns is another complete scenario, because functional knowledge is required in filing of returns. And right now in India, because it's a new law, as I said, only a handful of people in India are actually aware of the entire existing law.
Yeah, so, but it's not that difficult to learn the law. If they, see, I'm not saying, I'm just kind of giving you the perspective of SAP or any other large ERP provider who wants to play in this game. If they want to develop that knowledge, they can hire experts. It's not going to be that difficult. You are not the only expert in India who understands GST.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
So, I mean, they can even hire you to provide them with the knowledge. That's not the issue. The issue is for you to figure out where is the gap in the market. Maybe, in this case, maybe these chartered accountants don't have a software to work with, but even there in the mid-market or SME sector, the facts and the tallies, I know the CEO of Fact. Do you think these guys are sitting there and sucking their thumbs? They're doing their part to be GST ready as well.
They are doing it. In fact, you would be surprised that out of 34, Tally is one of the GSPs. So they are developing the product only for accounting purposes. It's not for reporting purposes and compliance purposes. I am developing the product.
That's an assumption that I'm sorry, I just don't buy into, because if you look at Intuit, for instance, Intuit has a huge tax practice. Why would Intuit not do this?
Intuit is doing it. In fact, it did compete to become one of the 34, but I don't know, it didn't. So they are doing it, but however, through our network, we are able to reach customers to a larger extent, because we have many chartered accountants with lots of years of experience and various spread across all India who are having network, able to capture chartered accountants. However, there are two lines, as you said, which are running. One is the chartered accountant side, one is the ERP side. I'm trying to capture the ERP side through GSPs and the chartered accountant through the SMEs. So the problem which I'm facing is there is growth, but however the funding.
My assessment of this market, based on what you've presented here, is going to be an intensely competitive scenario, because there are so many ERP providers who are going to be gunning for it. So you need to find you need to find a niche. If you know, a gap in what they're doing, where they stop and they don't want to compete, and perhaps, you know, some of them want to do something and not other things, and you may be able to slide in there. But you know, this whole idea that you're going to capture 20% of the market competing against the SFPs and the Intuits and the Facts and the Tallies, who are all going to have their own GST solutions, it's not feasible. It's an unrealistic idea. And I'm not convinced about the business long-term business opportunity here. You have not convinced me where the gap is. You haven't. So what my homework for you is to really deeply understand what are the product roadmaps of the 34 GSP providers and Intuit. You're saying Intuit is not in the GSP list, but Intuit is a big player, and they will want to play in this market. And the Facts and the Tallies and the SFPs and everybody, try to understand their product roadmaps, get into negotiations with them, and find, if you can, find a place where you can provide something that they're not providing. What is that gap in the market? And you have not articulated that gap in the market for me.
Okay. That is a great input. I would also personally interact in the other module, which is there in 1M and 1M, where you can provide us the strategies. These kind of strategies would be of great help in pushing the startup to the next level.
Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Are you asking about the premium program of 1 million by 1 million?
The premium program, yeah, the premium program.
So, what we do in the premium program is do kind of really rigorous positioning work. In your case, you absolutely have to find a very clear, precise positioning, and there is methodology to that. I would be happy to, steer you in that direction, but I will also steer you away from landmines where you're going to just spend many years of your life chasing something that cannot be done, because there are, these 300-pound gorillas in there who are going to be doing the basic stuff they're going to be doing. So you need to immerse yourself in this market, go talk to as many people as you can and understand their product roadmaps and figure out where is the gap. And then come back to me and talk to me if you decide to join the premium program, I'll be happy to help you shape that positioning, but you need to go in there and really go into the depths of the product roadmaps and understand what they're planning to do.
Sure. Thank you for your inputs.
You're very welcome. I will talk about the premium program a little bit later in the segment. I have one other entrepreneur that I need to work with, and then I will tell you more about how to use the program. And you can ask more questions also afterwards.
Yeah.
All right.
I will. Thank you. Hi.
Shashank Rao, you're up next.
Hi, Shimona. So good to talk to you again. Last time we spoke, I was at the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So last time we spoke, I was at the Oracle Incubator in a Box, and I had pitched to you a service which Oracle didn't follow up on, and pretty much since then the market has changed dramatically. But anyway, that's a different story. But what I'm here to talk about today is the product.
And you're no longer at Oracle?
Oh no, I'm not. So right now I'm at Workday, and part of the reason I made that switch too is after reading your Carnival in the Cloud blog and kind of giving me a hint as to where Workday is compared to Oracle. Things like that. So
you're trying to do a bootstrapping with a paycheck strategy on this project, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go for it. Let's listen to your idea.
Next slide. So actually, Dr. Blyden, so he's the one who actually developed the product, and I'm just helping him flesh it out. And he has a PhD in molecular genetics. We're all based out of the Bay Area. And his idea is basically it's not really a tech. It can be a tech idea, but it's more of like how to feed the world or how to feed a lot of people more efficiently. And as you know, my background. And by the way, he's already launched a startup. He was part of a bio accelerator, and he launched a startup, and now he's handed it off to the co-founder. And my background is, I have a bachelor's in computer science. I have 7 years working on mobile and enterprise software and working in a distributed environment, working with offshore teams. So I bring kind of the tech experience, and I'll show you where that's important. So the current challenge.
So Shashank, can you keep your when you're talking, can you keep your volume at the same level? You kind of speak loudly for a few seconds, and then you mumble for a few seconds. It's impossible for me to hear you. When your tone is going down, I can hear you.
Okay. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Much better. Yeah.
Okay.
So stay at that pitch.
Sure. So the current challenges with urban agriculture is that real estate is very expensive. And by the way, urban agriculture is basically agriculture in cities or, for example, San Francisco, Chicago, where people may want to grow produce. So that's what urban agriculture is. And the challenges are real estate is expensive. Per square foot profit is hard to get. The available space is, may not be ideal. The land may be contaminated, and also the space may be reclaimed for other use. So you have to be able to quickly transition from having a space that has a bunch of agriculture plants growing in there to an office space. Next slide. And that's where the PhytoPod comes in. It's basically a vertical produce and herb growing solution. It has international patents on the design as well as some of the functionality. And the idea is it's modular, so the pods, different pods that grow different types of produce can be stacked on top of each other. They can be moved around, and they can also be interchanged. And there's currently two versions of the product. There's the Hydro and the Aqua. So the Hydro is basically hydroponics growing of produce, and what that means is the roots are grown in water instead of soil. And because of the bioavailability of the nutrients in water, plants grow better. And the Aqua is basically aquaponics farming, which is you have a fish tank or a fish bucket with fish in it, and the nutrients from the fish feed the plant, and in turn the plant purifies the water. Now, this is not something new. It's been around for thousands of years. But it's basically this type of farming is the reason it's good. It's more efficient with water usage. You tend to get plants that are more have higher nutritional value. And I won't go into the future products because I realize that time is pretty critical right now. So this is what the PhytoPod looks like. On the top left, you have the basic PhytoPod, which is the lower end model. You can see that how they're stacked on top of each other. And on the top right, you have an array of smaller phytopods. So if you want to have like more of a grow operation, and on the bottom left, you have basically your PhytoPod Aqua, which is where the produce growing from where the roots are submerged in water. Move on to the next slide. And I'll just go through the pictures very briefly, just some pictures of what it looks like after things are growing on it. You can move on to the next slide. Next slide. Okay, this is one of, if you can go back to the previous slide really quick. This is one of our customers. This is actually like a 3-foot phytopod module, and you can see the verticality and the efficiency of being able to grow multiple vegetables in 1 square foot. So the idea is with 1 square foot of land, you can grow 5 to 6 square feet of produce. Next slide. And just some trends. Millennials and people currently in the market, the trend is that they prefer organic food, and they're consuming more organic food. And I realize that I haven't done a good job in the market sizing, and that's something I want to work on. I just came up with the general idea that the food market is a $5 trillion industry. The internet was $4 billion, the same size as the seafood market. And the cost of LED lighting is drastically reducing. Cost of battery tech is steadily been improving. That's important because of the future products of the PhytoPod that I was talking about, which is going to have integrated lighting and batteries.
But these products that you're currently talking about, they don't need any batteries. Do they need batteries?
one of them comes with the pumps, the aqua and the hydro. They come with pumps. They don't need batteries, but the reason batteries are important is if you can create a battery that stores energy, captures energy from the grid during nighttime when energy costs are half the price, we can increase the energy efficiency of the existing setup as well as any new setup.
Okay.
And few impacts of this trend, and I'd like some comments on whether this is an appropriate slide, because this is a trend of how funding has increased over since 2011 in food tech.
I will make one comment on this slide, and I don't know what is actually underneath this slide. There is a bunch of stuff that is being categorized as food tech, which is nothing but logistics. You know, all these stuff like Blue Apron and all these delivery services and you know, Munchery and all that. Do they fall within this category? Are they categorizing those guys as food technology? And if they are, in my opinion, these are not food tech. These are delivery services. These have nothing to do with food tech. So, I would kind of look at it, because I think the delivery services are going to be tricky. They have received huge amounts of funding, and we've seen this during the .com era as well. These logistics companies, you know, invest heavily in developing logistics. You see what's happening with Flipkart in India. Flipkart is imploding in a very public way, and again, huge logistics arms, but and funded by venture capital without really figuring out what is really the value of it. So that, what I would say is, look at this chart or this data without those delivery services, because I think the future of those are questionable.
Sure. And does it make sense to have that slide for investors in the first place to show people how? Yeah.
I'm not even sure if you're ready for investment, but I haven't got enough data to make that assessment yet.
Sure.
So,
we may not be. So, the global food scene is basically what we're saying is the global urbanization, moving of individuals from rural to urban places. That's going to drive the demand in technologies that need to feed people in cities. And what we're saying is we're technology that can actually be part of solutions where people need to grow more efficiently in constrained real estate. And I won't go into basically the analogy is it's decentralization of food is already happening, and we want to be part of that. And if you can see below, you can see that India and China, they have been investing more on food tech. Again, that goes back to your slide, the previous comment.
Yeah. In India, the food tech is heavily distribution. And in India, actually, the economics of distribution may actually work out better because the labor cost is very cheap. So, but that's a whole different business. That's not your business.
Sure.
Yeah, let's skip these slides. Can you take me to where you talk about the business? What is going on right now? What do you have customers? Do you understand who's going to be buying this? This is consumers' plan. Are you planning to sell this to consumers?
That's what we want to flesh out. We have 150 customers currently, but we don't that's what we're trying to figure out which market we should be targeting. So this is the segmentation that I've done, and what I think based on this is urban agriculture and farms, cannabis operations, and office buildings are three possible markets.
Where are the 150 customers from right now?
They're from all over. They're from New Orleans. They're from Texas. They're from a lot of them from the Bay Area.
What segment? What segment?
Oh, they're home customers. They're people who people who actually grow it in their backyards. Yes.
So how are these being sold?
Yeah, so a lot of them are being sold online. We have an Instagram channel and Facebook channel, and we also have a gallery in Oakland where we have these sitting there by the window, and people walk in and they like what they see and buy it.
And what is the price point, Shashank?
Yeah, so there's different. It ranges from $199 to $399.
This is an ideal Kickstarter project.
Okay.
This one is going to do very well on Kickstarter. It's got all this great environmental angles and so forth. It's a consumer product, so you can take the orders in advance and ship it to them. And this is, at least the consumer part of this business can be very easily scaled with Kickstarter campaigns. You run one after another Kickstarter campaign, really get good at managing Kickstarter campaigns, and you can scale the consumer business. And then, you can also work with office buildings and so forth and start validating those markets. But the consumer market is already validated, and you can run, and you already have certain number of consumers already starting to buy, and you just basically develop this with Kickstarter campaigns.
I have one question about that. So for what we noticed in Kickstarter is a lot of the products that they have on there are very fully developed, and they're mature, and they're beautiful. They have all the sensors integrated, and we're not at that level of refinement in our product right now, and that's why.
So there are competitive products like this that are being sold on Kickstarter, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I have a list of them, but they're at a much higher price point. A lot of them are like $3,000 price points and $2,000 price points.
Yeah, so if you sell it at a $200 price point, people won't expect that level of snazz and jazz.
And the other thing is there's a product that's called Aero Garden. It's acquired by Miracle Grow, $200, fully refined product, everything built in. So, I mean, the way I see it is for us to get to that level of refinement, it's going to be harder for consumers. That's why we were looking at urban agriculture, because the whole idea
why
behind
is this a problem with consumers? I mean, if people are working with small garden spaces, they're trying to do little roof gardens or terrace gardens or, small gardens. I mean, gardens are gardens, right? These are eventually going to become plants. So what is the big deal about,
I mean, if you look at the Aero Garden, you'll see that it has it has integrated lighting built in, batteries. It has a pod technology. It has a smartphone-like interface where you can control the plants. So we have to get to that level to be able to compete with them.
Why? If you're competing on a price point that is dramatically, that's 1/10 of the price point at which the sophisticated products are, that's to your advantage.
The Aero Garden is $199. The price point that I was talking about were for the Kickstarter competitors, but the Aero Garden is actually $199 on Amazon.
Oh, so there is a competitor that is at $199 price point on Amazon.
Right. And it has a Miracle Grow behind it. And the thing is, it's not a vertical growing solution. So, that's where we're trying to figure out how we should go with this.
So you basically have some product development work still to do.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying? Isn't that what you're telling me? That you to get this to a point where you can compete with the existing players, you have some product development work still to do. Is that correct?
Yeah. If we're competing in the consumer space, we definitely have product work. But I was just wanting to get your opinion on the urban farming,
Start validating the office building market.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the cannabis operations, to be perfectly honest with you. But whatever it is, if you did your work while you were at Oracle and doing the 1M program, did you do the validation module? You should know by now that you have to validate whatever hypothesis you have. You need to go by validate it.
Yeah. So that's what we're working. We actually started work on all three of these, except for the office building. Actually, we started work on the validating urban farms as well as the cannabis operation.
So keep validating, and I'll be happy to guide you further once you get some feedback. And this is not really ready for funding, although it may be ready for some Kickstarter funding, and it's always ready for friends and family funding. Anything is always ready for friends and family funding.
Okay. And do we have a differentiated enough product?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know your market.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you want my answer, my assessment to that question, you need to do a competitive positioning presentation, and I'll give you my reaction to that.
Okay.
All right. So, folks, if you like what we are doing here at 1M, please refer serious entrepreneurs to the program. Our whole program is about working with serious, rigorous, tough entrepreneurs who are willing to really do the heavy lifting necessary to succeed. Unrealistic expectations don't pan out. It's, as you heard in the first story that we presented today, Nevin Shetty's story with Blueprint Registry, he really worked, right? 2 years of bootstrapping with a paycheck, then TechStars, and then fundraising. Even at TechStars, he worked 100 hours a week for 3 months. That's a lot of work. And if you're willing to put in the work, I think, you know, we will be able to help you. If you don't do the work yourself, we can't do the heavy lifting for you. We can teach you how to do this. You're going to have to do the work. And that's just the way it works. Our mantra is bootstrap first, raise money later. And that's the only way you will be able to raise money. And I'm trying to bring you case study after case study so you understand that this is not something that we are pulling out of the hat. We are developing these methodologies, these core principles, values out of the market and how the market is shaping up and the market is developing. Funding is moving further and further down in the downstream in the development process, where you have done significant validation and you can engage investors based on evidence that the market is responding. So in terms of resources, everything is at 1mby1m.com. You'll find a blog that is chock full of interesting information. You'll find the Entrepreneur Journeys book series on Amazon. There are 12 volumes you can learn. It seems like a lot of people need to learn bootstrapping with a paycheck. It's one of the, you know, most convenient and I would say tried and true ways of bootstrapping. So definitely look that book up. These roundtables happen every week. Come, and if you're presenting, great. If you're not presenting, come and listen, come and participate, ask questions, so that you can basically simmer in an ambiance and you know, milieu of entrepreneurship and progress. You know, just by listening to the people who are pitching today and the guests and so forth, what do you get? You get a sense of progress. You get a sense of really hard work. And that's what these roundtables are about. That's what the whole 1M1M program is about. In terms of the full acceleration program, we have 1M1M Premium. And if you get into that, you saw Jonathan Kaplan, who's in that program. You have access to the full curriculum, and the curriculum is proven. We've used it to train many, many, many thousands of entrepreneurs. We will help you with extensive methodology guidance that's specific to your project. We will use the curriculum for methodology training, and we will work specifically on your project to fine-tune based on methodology. We'll help you with business development, strategy consulting, hands-on strategy consulting, just like this, but more extensive because you have all the methodology material as well. We help you with financing if and when you're ready. Not all businesses can be funded, but if you have a fundable business and you get to the point with bootstrapping where you are fundable, we will introduce you to investors. In one afternoon, I can introduce you to 35 investors, but that is going to be completely useless if you're not at a stage where those investors would be interested in talking to you. And that is just the reality of the game. We have contacts into all these places, YCombinator, TechStars, 500 startups, everything. But just by sending you there, you're not going to succeed. You're going to have to do the groundwork for sometimes, as you saw, sometimes for a couple of years before you would be ready for those places to really leverage those places, and that's just the reality. The other thing we do very effectively is get a lot of media attention around you by using our media channels, social media, and our various platforms, media platforms. And that also gets people to come to you, both customers, investors, analysts, you know, and that attention is helpful for startups because differentiating, rising above noise and letting your ecosystem know that you exist is very important. And we are very well equipped to help you with that. I would like all of you to go check out the 1M1M self-assessment. It's a free questionnaire. Answer those questions. These are the questions investors are going to ask you. You are the first and most important investor in your venture. So go put your business through these questions and see where you are, where your knowledge gaps are. If you have a lot of knowledge gaps on the methodology side, go sign up for 1M Basic. You have access to the curriculum, and if you put in 100 hours in 1 month, 30 days, $99, 30 days, you can get a long way in terms of methodology training. So just put yourself through a boot camp. Just in 30 days, learn a lot and get your understanding of what it means to be an entrepreneur to a different level. And I guarantee you, you're going to make progress and you're going to be successful. So that's 1M Basic. The premium program is a $1,000 annual membership fee, and you're committing to a year of sustained work. And you can always start with basic and go to premium, or start with premium directly if you want to work with me on a consistent basis, on a weekly basis, then you need to be in the premium. But either way is fine. Just get moving. Start making progress. Every month that you do not make progress, you're basically burning money. Even if you're bootstrapping with a paycheck, you're burning time. So time and money are both extremely precious, and if you kind of put yourself into an acceleration mode, that's going to help you save time and save money. Especially if you're burning money, burning your own money, burning investor money, this is an important thing to stop. Website has all sorts of information. So you can dig around on the website, look at the FAQs, the video FAQs, etc., and then basically develop your own understanding of the program and decide whether you want to use 1M as your acceleration program or not. We do not take equity. You will have all your equity available to preserve your ownership and be in a good negotiating position when you do get to investor negotiations. We don't believe in taking a lot of equity from early stage companies at hefty, $15,000 of investment for 7% equity. We think is a very bad deal. So that's just philosophy, and that philosophy is rooted in the understanding that you do need to have negotiating leverage as you go into subsequent rounds of financing. The curriculum is case studies and video lectures based. So we're not teaching you anything in vacuum. Everything is backed up with solid case studies. And we have had 750 plus successful entrepreneurs participate in developing this methodology, this curriculum, and these case studies. So you learn from other people, like you learned today from Nevin Shetty. You will learn from other people who are ahead of you in the game so that you can implement what they have learned and what they're advising into your strategy. That's it. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient, bootstrap startups, as I said. The upcoming roundtables, every week in February we have a roundtable, so come back, we'll work more on your businesses. We can take questions now either in public chat or through the phone conference. Anybody has questions? So if you have questions about the 1M program, please contact Irina at 1mby1m.com. She'll be happy to answer your questions. And we are kind of over time. At this point, we are at 9:33 a.m. We try to finish these sessions at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. If anybody has any question, I will quickly take it, and then we will reconvene next week and continue working on your projects. Anybody? Last call for questions. Don't send me privately questions. You need to put it in public chat. So set your public chat to send to all participants, and then go ahead, Ranjinath, go ahead with your question. Vimal Rai says, thank you for this opportunity. It was a great first experience, even though it's 1:35 a.m. now here. Oh, wow. Thank you for staying up. Vimal, where are you? Ranjinath, we cannot hear you. Have you dialed in? Hong Kong. All right. Well, great. That's diligence. I love that. I have worked across time zones all my career, so I have a very deep understanding of what is what it takes to work across time zones. You're sleepy. Well, go to sleep now. We're done. I'm just going to take Ranji's question and then we're done. Ranji, we cannot hear you. Either type in your question in the public chat or you need to dial in to the call. Hurry up, Ranji. Anybody else? What's the situation in India regarding SMS and SaaS? Well, what does that mean? What situation? There are tons of SaaS startups in India right now. SMS is one of the... You mean SMEs? Small, medium businesses, SMBs. Ah, okay. SaaS for SMEs. Well, SaaS for SMEs is fine as long as you're bootstrapping. VCs tend not to like to invest in SaaS for SMEs in India because the sales cycles are very long and the companies are not growing that fast. But you can bootstrap your business. There are some exceptions. Nolarity is a good exception that has managed to scale an SME SaaS fast and has been able to raise a lot of money, but it's not typical. Why don't you come and present your business next time and we can work more on it. Sorry, I can't comment without more information. Why don't you schedule a pitch and we'll work on your business later, okay? Folks, we're going to adjourn today and okay, Yogesh Nalam, I have an innovation product, but I don't have any IP for it now. How can I take my prototype into market? Is there a way to connect with big companies and sell them my idea? Nobody buys ideas. People buy businesses. People buy intellectual property if you have a patent that people want to license, if you have something that they want, but they don't buy ideas. All right, folks, I'm afraid we're going to have to adjourn today. It's 9:37 a.m. and we are 7 minutes past our usual time. So see you next week. It was a pleasure working with all of you today. I had fun. I hope you did too. Talk to you soon. Bye.